Well, you know you're in election season when political leaders start showing their softer side to the press. Peter Dutton was featured in the Sunday papers over the weekend, or the Saturday papers, I should say, while Women's Weekly sat down with Anthony Albanese's partner, Jodie Hayden, to talk about their relationship. Let's bring in now Sky News reporter Cam Reddin. Cam, these rival feature pieces, Albanese spent today, he should have been talking about the rate cut, but he was talking about when he was going to get married.
This is in the Australian Women's Weekly too, Shari. I think it was a joint interview with his partner, Jodie Hayden. They notably have run out of time to get married before the election, so it will take place someplace after. Look, it is interesting, and I do wonder how much of the US-style campaign we will see over the coming weeks. Of course, these sort of pictures, they typically do come up. I know Peter Dutton sat down with his wife, Kirrily, over the weekend as well and did their piece for one of the major networks too. I think what we will see, Shari, is a little bit more of that unconventional style campaigning. You might see more, for example, pieces in the Women's Weekly on podcast circuits in non-traditional media outlets than we have in the past. That was such a feature successfully for Donald Trump. And I'm not saying there's a direct link necessarily, but it does go to show that I guess people are getting their information and their news in different places. So the leaders have to go there, whether that's the Women's Weekly or whether it's some podcast that maybe we wouldn't have heard of a few years ago.
Although I don't know how many people are reading the Women's Weekly anymore. I would say not many, but nonetheless, the view is that's how you reach women.
I do the crosswords normally.
I do. All right, well, let's have a look at billionaire Clive Palmer, and he's coming up on Paul Murray's show, by the way. He is now trying to launch a new political party after his previous one, United Australia, was barred from re-registering. This is a very troubled bloke, don't like him at all. The mining magnate said he's following in Donald Trump's footsteps, as if he could hope to do that, Cam. What is this play?
Well, in the United States, Shari, a billionaire became the president, and in Australia, this billionaire spent $120 million and got one Senate seat in Victoria. So not the greatest return on investment for Clive Palmer the last time out. He said he's going to pump millions of dollars into this party, which most people will never have heard of. It's called the Trumpet of Patriots. It's existed in a whole range of forms over about 2 decades. It's been registered with the AEC since 2011. It's never troubled the scorers at an electoral level, but basically this will be a vessel now for Clive Palmer without the UAP to try and run candidates all across the country. Now, he's not necessarily committed to doing every seat, all 150 like he did last time, but Shari, this cannot, given the amount of money he's got, it can't be entirely dismissed, because if he's able to replicate what the UAP did and get something like 4% nationwide, yes, that sounds like not very much, but it could be enough in razor-tight seats, the likes of Blair in Queensland, Bruce in Melbourne as well. Some of these seats where One Nation and the UAP did pretty well a few years ago, it could be enough, depending on where his preferences go, which he hasn't said yet, that could be enough to swing a seat either way. So it's a lot of show, but it may have some actual impact. We will see.
And Cam, you had an exclusive that Clive Palmer tried to pitch to Pauline Hanson that they combine forces, but that didn't go down too well.
No, to be a fly on the wall for this cup of tea, Shari, this was a meeting in November between Pauline Hanson, One Nation officials and also Clive Palmer. The essence of the pitch here was to join forces and create this new entity known as, it would have been called, the Clive and Pauline Party, running as the CAP. But critically, Clive Palmer put up, we revealed today, $10 million of his own money, offered to bankroll candidates for One Nation across the country. And also, we've reported, there was an offer of $500,000 to help Pauline Hanson in her defamation fight against a case brought by Mehreen Faruqi, the Greens senator. Pauline Hanson turned up her nose, didn't want a bar of it. She said no, and ultimately that's led us to today, and Clive Palmer sounding his trumpet of patriots.
Yeah, there would have been big arguments about who would have been the leader of that party. You can imagine that wouldn't have lasted long had they decided to merge. All right, Cam Reddin, thanks so much for your time.